rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In this week, we are going to learn the second and the last part of patterns. So far, we have learned that patterns are a repeating arrangement of shapes or numbers. Now we are going to observe that patterns can also be represented by using equations. And our goal for this week is to learn to solve equations using addition and subtraction. Now, the main vocabulary in this section are knowing the meaning of the terms variable, equation, and also solving an equation. What does it mean, solve an equation? For reference, you can refer Math Focus textbook lesson 1, and you can practice questions from the Math Focus workbook pages 5 to 8. What is a variable? Let's take a situation to understand this. Before is planning a bake sale to raise funds for the Children's Strawberry Hospital. The school's principal decides to donate $100 to whatever total money will be raised. Now, for this situation, we know that the money to be raised is still unknown, so its value can be represented using a letter X. So the total amount raised or collected could be equal to the money raised by the students, that's X, plus the $100 that the principal has promised to donate. Here, the letter X is called a variable. So what is a variable? Variable is an unknown quantity represented by any symbol. You can use letters to represent this. It can be like the letter X, Y, A, B, P, Q, any letter, or you can also use small letters to present it. What is an equation? Now, continuing with the same situation, let's suppose the grade 4 students now have raised a total of $325, and as promised, the principal adds $100 to it. Now, what will be the total money collected? The total money collected will be the variable X plus $100. Now that we know that the money collected by the students is $325, so in place X, we are substituting its value by $325. So $325 plus $100 will be equal to $425. Now we call this writing 325 plus 100 equals 425. We call it as an equation. Equation is a mathematical sentence that says that the left-hand side of the equal sign is equal to the right-hand side of the equal sign. This is also similar to when you add any two numbers and then you write that's equal to the total. So that is very similar to the situation. Now, consider x plus 100 equals 425. Consider that to be like a balance scale. So in a balance scale, you have two pans, and this equal line is to be considered that balance is always equal. So whatever is on the left side of the pan should be equal to the right side of the pan. With this condition, it will help us to know the value of this unknown variable. Moving on to the next. Solving an equation. Solving an equation means to find the value of that unknown variable. Here the unknown variable is x. In the equation x plus 100 equals 425, the value of x, the money collected by the students, is equal to $325. So the solution of the equation x plus 100 equals 425. So the value of x is 325. So finding the value of the variable is nothing but finding the solution of the equation. Now, to find the value of that variable, you can use two different ways. The first one is the trial and error method or a guesswork. This is the most basic method. Guess various numbers and see if they work to make sure that the balance remains equal, or it has equal balance, so that the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. This method is not very efficient and does not always give you the answer, and it might take more time to get the correct answer. Now, the second method is using inverse operations. This method will always give you the correct answer and will often be the quickest method. It is, however, slightly trickier, but inshallah, we'll learn how to do that. Now, let's take one example for trial and error method. Solve x plus 100 equals 425. Now think what should be added to 100 to get 425. So if you just consider the hundreds, we know that 300 plus 100 will give you 400, but how much more is needed to make it 425? So we can say, oh, maybe 25 is needed more. So we can write this as 300 plus 25 is 325. So the value of x will be 325. So it kind of like um, checking what value of x will fit here. So that value of x plus 100 should be equal to 425. So just by a guesswork, you can see, oh, the value of x is 325. The other method is using inverse operation. So for the same question, x plus 100 equals 425. Now, when 100 is added to x, when the 100 is added to x, the total value is 425. Now, to get only the value of x, one way could be, because it was 100 was added, and then only this total became 425. Now what we could do is, let's remove this 100 from x, that we will get actually the value of x, right? So if you're removing 100 from the x that you're doing on the left side of the equal sign, you have to do the same on the right-hand side of the equal sign. So this will look like that. X plus 100, which is in the question, is equal to 425. Now we are subtracting 100 on both sides. So left side, what happens is x plus 100 and minus 100, both of them come like a 0. And I prefer not to write that because we want only the value of the variable. X will be equal to, what happens on the side is 425 minus 100 will be 305. So the value of x will be 325. You notice that when addition is involved with the variable on the side, to find its value, a subtraction is used to get the value of x. Okay, that's why we say that if you want to find the value of x and there's addition involved, you subtract the same value to find the value of x. Here, there's one more example. Solve y minus 4 equals 10. What will be the value of y so that y minus 4 will be equal to 10? Now, when 4 is subtracted from y, the difference is 10. To get the value of y, we can add the same value that was subtracted on both sides of the equation. So if you want to show the steps, it will be y minus 4, which is same as the question, and equal to 10. Now, because of minus 4, when minus is subtracted from y, we got 10. Now, to find the value of y, we want to add that 4 back to it, and we want to see what value will it be. Now, when you're adding 4 to the left side of the equation, you have to do the same onto the right side of the equation. So, next step, you will see that minus 4 plus 4 is 0. It's kind of saying that you owe a person $4, and then somebody is giving you that $4 so that you can pay back. So finally, you'll be left with nothing. So whenever you see two numbers with the subtracted and added, it means the value of this will be 0. So on the left side of the equation we have y, and on the right side, because they're just two numbers, we'll add them up. 10 plus 4 is 14. So you notice here that when subtraction is involved with variable y, then we get the answer by using an addition. In summary, addition and subtraction are called the inverse operation. Similarly, in higher grades, you will learn that multiplication and division are called the inverse operation. Now, these inverse operations are used to solve any given equation. Now, let's take one example. Solve x plus 2 equals 3. Now, draw a line to separate the equation into sides. Subtract. So, you'll see that x plus 2 equals 3. Now, we want only the value of x. And what is along with x? Plus 2. So, if it's plus 2, the inverse of addition is subtraction. That's why you need to subtract 2 from both the sides. Simplify vertically and then check answer with the substitute answer back into the problem. So, let's see this here. So, you see that minus 2 on both sides. So, finally, x remains left side of the equation. This becomes a 0. and 3 minus 2 is 1. So the value of x equals 1. Now we'll check if our answer is correct. So we'll put this value of x back into the question. So in place of x, we will write 1 plus 2. So 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, which is same as the right-hand side of the equation. Let's take one more example. Our answer is correct. Now 8 equals m minus 3. So it doesn't matter where the variable is. Sometimes the variable comes on the left side, sometimes it comes on the right side. So some steps would be draw a line to separate the equation into two sides. Now, you want the variable to be isolated. You want only the variable on one side. There's a subtraction, connect that. So because it's a subtraction, the inverse of subtraction is an addition. So by which number should we add? We should add plus 3 on both the sides so that only m remains on the right-hand side. And then you simplify vertically and then check your answer. The step will be to line and you add plus 3 on both the sides. Just remember, the inverse operation of subtraction is an addition. That's why we chose the operation, but the number remains the same. So we see that 8 plus 3 is 11 on the right side, m, and these two kind of got cancelled. The value of that is 0, so only m is there. So value of m equals 11. To check, put the value of m in the question. So 8 equals, instead of m, we'll write it as 11. 11 minus 3 is 8. So the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So that means that the solution for m equals 11 is correct. So here are some examples, and you can refer to these examples in the Google slides that we have here, and you can check the answers. At the end of this Google slide, there are more practice questions, and answers are also provided. So along with this, you're strongly encouraged to work on the questions from the workbook pages 5 to 8, and inshallah, you should really get a good practice. Now this section, actually it's easier, but because it's the beginning of the part of math that we call it as algebra, that's why you kind of need to know what the variable means, what's an equation, and how to find the solution. So inshallah, with this practice using this Google slide, you should be able to solve them. So I'll just quickly show you. These are some questions being asked, and there are answers provided in the next slide, and there's some more questions. Okay, I hope this Google slide presentation was a little useful. So if you have any questions, inshallah, we'll discuss during our Google Meets, inshallah. Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.